Welcome to the Trill and BA Show. I'm your host, Felicia Ann Rose Anuha, aka the Trillest MBA you will ever know. And I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be. Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome back. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We definitely ate a lot of turkey and dressing, and the whole team had the itis. So we took the holiday time off to spend with our families, and we had a great time. So it's good to be back. And here we are back with our series, How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're on the last part 4, which is all about leadership. And I'm really excited about this because I'm at a part in my own journey of life and leadership where I am being pushed to be a better leader. And it's a bit uncomfortable, to be honest. So I'm excited to dive into part 4 because the title of part 4 is Be a Leader: How to Change People Without Giving Offense and Arousing Resentment. And I have definitely given offense and aroused a lot of resentment, y'all. So I think this is more for me than y'all. But first, today's Corporate Warrior Spotlight is Margaret Anadu, Senior Partner at the Vistria Group. Margaret is the head of real estate, and she is based in New York City. Margaret has devoted her career to investing, which not only generates strong economic returns, but importantly has a demonstrable positive impact on underserved individuals, families, and communities. Margaret is widely recognized as one of the foremost experts on equitable access to capital, having invested over $10 billion across hundreds of transactions throughout the United States, and was named one of the most influential figures in U.S. commercial real estate by Commercial Observer. Margaret has been a trusted advisor to many senior government officials at the federal, state, and local levels on utilizing private capital to create more equitable communities. As an experienced investor and thought leader on public-private partnerships, Margaret is often asked to share her views, including on CNN, Bloomberg, CNBC, and Yahoo Finance. She was named to 40 Under 40 lists by Fortune, Black Enterprise, and Crane. Prior to joining Vistria, Margaret was a partner at Goldman Sachs, where she was the global head of sustainability and impact for asset management and chair of the Urban Investment Group, the first impact investing platform at a major U.S. financial institution and Goldman Sachs' primary impact investing business. Under her leadership, the Urban Investment Group portfolio was primarily comprised of real estate with a focus on workforce, affordable, and mixed income housing, but also included investments in community facilities, educational space, industrial facilities, green infrastructure, student loans, and small businesses. Margaret ultimately grew the business to over $2 billion of investments annually. While at Goldman Sachs, Margaret was the chief architect of the 1 Million Black Women Investment Strategy, the firm's $10 billion capital commitment to narrow opportunity gaps for Black women in the United States, and by extension, their families and broader communities. In addition, during the COVID-19 pandemic, she led a $2 billion relief effort for small businesses. In April 2022, Margaret was appointed chair of the board of directors of the New York City Economic Development Corporation. She also serves on the boards of the Low Income Investment Fund, the Center for an Urban Future, the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, and the Africa Center. Margaret is a graduate of Harvard College and lives in Brooklyn, New York with her husband and 2 children. And can I just say, I made a phone call or two because I know some people in certain places. And the word I got back was, this woman is faux show kinfolk. And you can see in all the things that she's done to use business to drive to help the culture, the people, the community. I love it. I don't know her personally, but if I ever could meet her, I would love to. Margaret, keep being a badass. You are awesome. So glad to have you out in the world doing the big things, doing the damn thing. Thank you so much for everything. Now, we are going to start the show with the first segment. We are on part 4, Dale Carnegie. So we're winding down, y'all. This meant a lot to me, so I hope you get a lot out of it. Because I have, going back through this book and interpreting it in my own way for us has been a blessing to me because I needed it too. I needed to go back and reread. But today, the first chapter in this part 4 is titled, If You Must Find Fault, This is the Way to Begin. And the principle of this chapter is to begin with praise and honest appreciation. And some things that he says, so he gives all these illustrations and he talks about all these like old dead white people. So I'm not going to read all that to y'all today. But the crux of this chapter is, it is always easier to listen to unpleasant things after we have heard some praise of our good points. Mm-hmm. And another thing he said right after that really was like, okay, we can understand this. A barber lathers a man before he shaves him. And I was like, oh, that's good, Dale Carnegie. I got to give you credit on that one. So in this chapter, it really talks about what I was taught earlier in my career. And shout out to my friend, Andrea. Andrea worked with me at a company that shall not be named. Actually, all the companies shall not be named. But Andrea, I call her Sunshine. She is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And I remember I was struggling so bad at this job because I didn't have all this information at the time. And she was like, Felicia, you can't just go in there and just give it to him. You have to pat, 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 poke, pat, pat, pat. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you got to tell him, good things. You got to massage it, pat, pat, pat. And then you give him the info that's going to poke him. And then you pat, pat, pat again. And I was like, okay. And so again, because that is not my communication style whatsoever. Like I am very much poke, poke, poke. Just, you need these poke, you need this jab, you need this shot. This is what you need. You need to know. You need to get your life together. I'm going to tell you. Right? I'm just totally the keep it real person. But I recognize, I try to tell people all the time, in communication, there is what you intend to communicate, and there is the impact of your intended communication. And sometimes, a lot of times, many, many times actually, your impact and your intention does not match. And when that happens, that's where conflict is. That is literally where the root of every conflict is that I intended you to receive this in this way, and you received it this over here this way. And now I want to point a finger at you and tell you how dumb you are for receiving it that way. And that's not helpful because usually you're intending to communicate, asking somebody to do something or change something or take some type of action. And if the impact of your communication isn't matching that, then you're not going to get the result you desired. And then you're going to be pissed. Now this other person is pissed, probably because of the way you talk to them. So yeah, it's rough, guys. It's rough. But I love that this chapter has all these great illustrations about, how you get people to listen to the unpleasant thing that you have to say. And the advice here is before you tell them the poke or what they've done wrong or what's at fault or what they need to change or the critical element of the communication, you need to start by talking about all the good things first. Okay. So all the good things first, and then you give them the critical. And then you come back to, and remember though, and we still have all this good stuff. And when you communicate in that way, people are able to receive the criticism better. And we need people to receive the criticism so that they can make the necessary adjustments and they can have a better experience, especially at work. So that's the first chapter of part 4. It's very simple, very easy. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about the next chapter that I think is passive aggressive, in my opinion. But I'm starting to put the dots together on maybe why some of our coworkers are passive aggressive at work. But we're going to get to it and talk through it after the break. Hey. This is for all my Patreon users. Okay, I know. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Hopefully you did get to listen to episode 30. I made that exclusive for you guys because I had a lot of nuggets in there, but I felt like I kind of went on a rant. Y'all let me know. Let me know if that content works for you guys. And if you want to listen to episode 30, just go ahead and sign up for the Patreon. And I had a strategy session with my team, guys. We are figuring out all the extra stuff that we are going to be giving the Patreons in 2023. So thank y'all for riding with me. We got some good stuff coming. I promise it's coming. Give me a little time and you won't regret rocking with us. So thank you for investing in this show. Thank you for your support and understanding. And know that if you need anything, just hit me up at ask@trilliumba.com and let me know your Patreon in the subject line. And we will make sure that you are good in your career. Okay? All right. Back to the show. Okay. So in the last segment, we talked about the pat, 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 poke, pat, pat, pat technique. That's really what I've interpreted this first chapter in part 4 to be. And the principle was begin with praise and honest appreciation. So now this second chapter is titled How to Criticize and Not Be Hated for It. And Lord knows I need this information. And so the principle here is to call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Now, as somebody who is a direct communicator, one thing I do not like is indirect communication. Can't stand it. Gets on my nerves. It feels petty to me. It feels like some BS. But, and I know a lot of y'all feel the same way. But Dale Carnegie says in here that many people begin their criticism with sincere praise, followed by the word but, and ending with a critical statement. And I was like, ooh. And see, a lot of times when people are being passive aggressive, that's what they do. And that's what you feel. Because but negates everything that was said before. And so that's why it feels wrong. And that's what I figured out in my mind. Like, oh, this is why I don't like this. Okay. But then Carnegie says, this could be easily overcome by changing the word but to and. And then the illustration he's talking about is parents, talking about a child's careless attitude toward their studies. And so the parents would be like, we're really proud of you, Johnny, for raising your grades this term. But if you had worked harder on your algebra, the results would have been better. And so he says what they should say is, we're really proud of you, Johnny, for raising your grades this term. And by continuing the same conscious efforts next term, your algebra grade can be up with all the others. And I was like, yeah, you would receive that so much better. And there is something psychological that you would be like, oh yeah, I can get a better algebra grade. And then you go off and you work towards that. And so you have effectively, as a parent, changed that child's behavior. And guess what, y'all? Adults are really no different. Children are just little adults. They're going to grow up to be adults. And a lot of the psychological triggers that we have and the things that motivate us and make us think through things, how we communicate to kids is really no different as far as motivation wise than how we communicate to adults. That's what I'm learning here. So just like you wouldn't want to tell your kids, but you could have did better. You don't want to tell your direct report, but you could have done better here, right? Lessons learned, y'all. Lessons learned. And Dale Carnegie goes on to say, calling attention to one's mistakes indirectly works wonders with sensitive people who may resent bitterly any direct criticism. Child, I needed to read this like a year ago. Oh man, if that isn't the truth, okay? And what's really hard is when you are a direct communicator and you receive direct communication. And for you, direct communication shows me that you care. So you got to understand, let's go back to my childhood trauma. Lay on my couch for a minute, or let me lay down and you get in the therapy chair. So me growing up, I grew up with my mom and my grandma, and there was just no sugarcoating. There was no worried about your feelings. You know, my grandma's favorite thing to say was, "You want me to tell you the truth, don't you?" That was her favorite thing to say. So it didn't matter if it felt good or not. It was definitely the truth hurts. The truth just can hurt. And you need to be okay with that because you want to get the truth. And so when I think through how I am now, it is a direct reflection of that upbringing where, you know, the criticism was just brutal and you shouldn't have your feelings in it. And so I don't know if my mom was trying to get me to not be so sensitive, because I am a very sensitive person, which is always funny, right? The dichotomy, like, your ass is extra sensitive, but yeah, you gonna be direct with people with brutal honesty. Make that make sense. This is just how I was raised. And I have had to grow and evolve and work to change. It has been very painful because I just want to say what I want to say. Part of the reason why y'all get this podcast. And I just really struggle in the workplace because of my mouth. And the funniest thing is my mom would always say, "Your mouth is going to get you in trouble. Your mouth is going to get you in trouble. Your mouth." I've been like this my whole life. However, it doesn't mean that I don't try or put effort to being more hyper-aware, self-aware, working on my communication style, my language, making sure I'm working on communicating in a way that the impact of my communication is received in the intention that I meant it. And so with that, although this may feel passive aggressive, I think the thing that you need to take away is that when you indirectly call things out, use sincere praise, use the word and not but, and then put a positive spin on the thing that the person needs to correct. The other example he gives in here, and I thought this was interesting because I don't know how I would receive this, but he talks about this woman, Marge Jacob, and she took one of his classes and she told this story about she'd hired construction workers to put an addition on her house, and their work was good, but they weren't cleaning up after themselves. And if you know, construction sites can get really messy, but your subcontractors are supposed to clean up after themselves, right? So for the first few days of the work, when Miss Jacob returned from her job, she noticed that the yard was strewn with the cut ends of lumber. She didn't want to antagonize the builders because they did excellent work. So after the workers had gone home, she and her children picked up and neatly piled all the lumber debris in a corner. The following morning, she called the foreman to one side and said,
"I'm really pleased with the way the front lawn was left last night. It is nice and clean and does not offend the neighbors.
From that day forward, the workers picked up and piled the debris to one side. And the foreman came in each day seeking approval of the condition the lawn was left in after a day's work. I think even for me, so in my mind, let's say I was like the foreman and this lady came up and she was like, I really appreciate how y'all cleaned up. And I know we didn't clean up. I'd be like, ma'am, thank you for cleaning up. We gonna make sure we get everything cleaned up. Like I would say that, most people, especially people that's not Black, because I feel like Black people, we special. But most people would be like, okay. Like they wouldn't say anything. And then they would do this and this would work perfectly. But for me, that would annoy the hell out of me. I'd be like, you ain't slick, lady. Just say you want us to clean up. You ain't offending me. But again, that's my communication style. And I have to recognize I was raised by two thugs. So recognize how you communicate and recognize how you need to bend and shift, especially when it comes to calling attention to people's mistakes. And I think this is a good technique at work because, again, this was a book written by a white man talking about white people. And you work with who? White people. So use these techniques. And just so you know, I understand y'all work with more than just white people, but understand when I say white people, I'm talking about the workplace is founded by whiteness. The workplace was only meant for white men. You are now in a space that is dominated by whiteness and the construct of whiteness. So it really doesn't matter like the actual color or race of people. The world you're operating in operates under these tenets. And so you need to learn them. Okay? All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the third chapter in part 4 and the most important thing when we get back. Hey guys, I'm working on a new course in the spring and I want to hear from you. If you are looking to get promoted in 2023 and you have been wondering, like, I've done everything they told me to do and I still can't get this promotion. Other people around me keep getting promoted, especially these people that I know they ain't doing nothing but cheesing and grinning in people's faces. I mean, I'm cheesing and grinning in people's faces. It's still not working. I don't know what's wrong or what I'm doing wrong. And I really want to get promoted in 2023. Then this is the 6-week course for you. I've built it for you. So if you are interested in this course, I need you to go to trilliumba.com/coaching. And I need you to set up a 15-minute consultation with me so we can talk through if this is the best course for you at this time in your career. And I'm telling you, it works. I have previous clients. I'm happy to have them talk to you or refer you via email to say how they've gotten promoted based on all the techniques that I used in this course. So it works. It's worked for me. It's worked for my clients. And it's your time. So if you know it's your time, go to trilliumba.com/coaching and sign up for a 15-minute consultation to assess if you are a great candidate for this course that is designed to get you promoted in 2023. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited to offer this course. We've really honed it down to the very specific things that you need to do. And we're all about getting paid and promoted. That's what we do all year long. All right, let's get back to the show.
Are you listening? Damn.
Hey guys, so here we are. We're going to wrap up and we are continuing our review of how to win friends and influence people and taking all the good nuggets out of what Dale Carnegie is telling us about his folk and that we have to deal with in the workplace. And so this third chapter in part 4. It's called Talk About Your Own Mistakes First. Ooh, who wants to do that? I know I don't. Boo. But he does have a point. Dale Carnegie says, it isn't nearly so difficult to listen to a recital of your faults if the person criticizing begins by humbly admitting that he too is far from impeccable. That is a word. Maybe if you have a moment of vulnerability and you think through like, hey, if I was in that person's shoes, maybe I would have made the same mistakes. Maybe, and then talk about when you made mistakes. This is what Dale Carnegie is saying. And so this chapter and this whole section, this part 4, really leads to the most important thing. And the most important thing is diplomacy and tact will take you further than anything else. Being diplomatic is a skill that anyone can learn. Even me. I know it seems like maybe not, but I'm working on it and I'm getting better. Dale Carnegie says, imagine what humility and praise can do for you and me in our daily contacts. Rightfully used, they will work veritable miracles in human relations. Admitting one's own mistakes, even when one hasn't corrected them, can help convince somebody to change his behavior. Why? Because that's diplomacy. That's tact. That's care. And that's being human. Understand, none of us are perfect. None of us. I know Black women are probably as close to perfection. Just kidding. Kinda, not really, maybe. But all of us human beings are just that. We are human. And we are all on this life journey of learning, and we are in this world. And none of us really understand how our souls got here. I mean, we understand what our parents did, but, the whole system, right? And, some people believe in their religion and some people believe in whatever they believe in. But at the end of the day, nobody really can comprehend the intricacy of humanity. And that's probably by design. So remember, you are human. You will make mistakes. You should be striving to learn and grow. And you should be thinking through how you communicate for impact. And these are the techniques that you should use at work to do that. All right, guys, as always, if you need some help or advice about specific situations, go to trilliumba.com/coaching to schedule a 45-minute consultation with me to strategize and walk through your specific work situations. Yes, I have opened up one-on-one coaching back up, guys. So let's get it. In addition, you can always email me at ask@trilliumba.com. I'm happy to either answer your question or connect you to the right person if I don't have the answer. Again, that's trilliumba.com/coaching to schedule a 45-minute consult with me. Or you can email at ask@trilliumba.com to submit your question or concern. Or if you just want to tell me how much you love the show, do that. Or if you want to hit me up and tell me there's a problem with some audio, do that too. Shout out to one of my listeners. We corrected the audio. So if y'all ever hear issues in the audio, hit me up. Let me know, because sometimes I don't catch it and I don't know. So I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for riding with me. We're winding down. 2022 is almost a wrap, y'all. So a couple more weeks and it's a new year. New year, new us. We are going to do it big, y'all. All of us. Okay? So until next time, keep it trill. The Trill MBA Show is a Fair World Corp LLC production. Executive produced by Felicia and Rose Inuha. Sound design and editing by Chris Mann with Podshaper. Theme music is Kick Push by Brian Little. Keep it trill every day, y'all.